what I consider to be a very underappreciated shooter from 2011. Let me just get my screen switched here. Hope everyone is doing well. It is. If you're someone like me, you probably noticed the hard cutoff from the music to the next scene. This is something that's been bothering me for years, and I could not find anything from OBS, nor could I find anything via my Google searches. But with enough research and enough persistence and determination, I was finally able to discover a solution that can better provide a fade in audio sources between scene transitions in OBS. I'm Project 2501, and this is how to fade audio sources automatically using a Stream Deck and Voicemeeter. Okay, so the apps and items you will need are the program Voicemeeter and a Stream Deck. In order to achieve the intended functions for this video, we will also need at least one virtual audio cable, which you can pick up from the same website as Voicemeeter. All links will be in the description below, of course. So we go to the website here. Just click on virtual audio cable. Once again, links into the description. So this is a site you can go to obtain the virtual audio cable. You can download it for Windows or Mac. And we'll also want to click the potato icon, or tab, I should say, potato tab over here. So you can download Voicemeeter Potato. You can also get 4 more virtual audio cables here. We will only be using one for today's demonstration, but if you want, these are available via a small donation. And honestly, everything here is worth many times more than what they're asking. So I strongly recommend supporting these guys with a donation. So I know Voicemeeter Potato looks quite intimidating if you haven't used it before, but once you get the hang of it, it's not that bad. Because my philosophy is, if you can learn to drive on stick, automatic is that much easier. Start with Potato, and if you don't need it, you can use Voicemeeter Banana or even the vanilla Voicemeeter app. For this video though, we'll be using Potato. So once you have everything installed and likely have also rebooted your system, we can begin the process of isolating the particular audio that you want to fade. Today's example will be what most streamers use, a game capture. You may not realize it, but I already have a game running at this moment, right on down here. The reason you can't hear it is because I already have it muted. The first step we need is to create our audio output in Voicemeeter. That way, once we redirect the game audio, it will go to the proper output. To do that, we'll go here. Since hardware input 1 is my microphone, which obviously you can see being used. Each of these hardware inputs can be any of the virtual audio cables, thus giving you many possible combinations of different effects for various audio sources. What we want to do here is click here and select our virtual audio cable. I have already selected it because I'm already using it, but this is the cable output that you can download for free from the website. Be sure to use the WDM version of your cable input. I tried KS and MME, and they tend to give me crackling audio from my game. So it just never seems to give me any issues when I use WDM. So be sure to use WDM when you select your cable. Next, we'll want to go into our audio settings. So we'll put Voicemeeter aside for now. So click on the little speaker icon down here, and then open Sound Settings. Once the window pops up, you'll want to scroll down to the bottom and click App, Volume, and Device Preferences. Then in here, you can see, if you don't already have a game running, be sure to fire one up. I have one of my favorites, Chrono Trigger, running at the moment, which is right here. As you can see, I've already selected my virtual audio cables as my output. Do not use the input setting, as it will not provide the function you're looking for. Just be sure to use output. They have it listed here, output, input. So be sure to select your cable input under your output. It's confusing, but you'll figure it out. You may also want to take this opportunity to adjust your audio for your particular game, because you don't want to adjust it in Voicemeeter, because that's going to ruin the functionality of our fading when we get to that stage. Also note that some games will not shift their audio. For example, the game Shadowrun Returns only seems to output to the default audio regardless if I select any of my virtual audio cables. This may be a particular issue with the game itself, but I would say most games I've tested this with work without issue. Just be aware it may not apply to all games. So yeah, be sure to adjust your volume and all that. It's better to do that here, because the system should remember this for the future, or at least until you uninstall the game. So now let's go back to Voicemeeter for a moment. I have the virtual audio cable outputting to my speakers, which is listed here as A1. You can select that up here. A1 I have going to my monitor, because that's where my speakers are actually connected, is through my monitor. So I have A1, which is the speakers, and then B2, which is the auxiliary output here. This is the auxiliary output, and we'll be making we'll be using that when we get into OBS later. The default desktop audio is labeled as Voicemeeter input, which you can also see here. That's what I'm using to listen to my speakers. So everything's outputting through Voicemeeter, because if you don't have it outputting through Voicemeeter, you won't be able to hear it yourself when you're adjusting the game audio. It'll make sense when we get to that. My microphone has its own channel for VAIO3, which is this guy here. And I have it isolated just because I want to have my mic in its own channel. Unfortunately, you cannot use VAIO3 in, I believe, the other Voicemeeter applications. It's only available in Potato. The others may have only have the default input and the auxiliary input. So now that we have our audio going to the right location, we have a lot of control over that specific channel. We can play some music here in the default input for my desktop audio, but still be able to control the volume for the game on its own. This is the key to achieving our goal. So we have some music that we can be playing here, and you can see that playing in the default. Then we will also pull up our game. So we have our game just kind of looping the track screen. You can't hear it right now because it is muted. So if we increase the volume, I'm just doing this with my mouse wheel right now. But see, now you can hear the game audio and the music simultaneously. And now you can see the game audio is playing through B2. Then if we go and lower, you can see B2 slowly fading out. This is how we get our proper functionality. Okay, so we'll go ahead and minimize those. We can now go into our Stream Deck software, which is, I've got it open right here, and create our buttons to give us our fade effect. I already have my buttons made, but we'll go through exactly how these were created. First thing you'll need to do is install this here, which is Voicemeeter from BarRaider. It's Voicemeeter functionality for the Stream Deck. It's not installed by default, so you just click on More Actions here, and then you'll start up here, scroll down a bit until you see Voicemeeter integration. That's what you're going to want, and then just click the normally it would say install. Just click the install button, and then you'll have this available. So we have many actions to use. What we're going to want here is the Voicemeeter advanced press long press. So we're going to put that right there. So now we have this button. This button is what we're going to be using to give us our fade effects, but we need some code to give us our function. So if you want, you can download the Voicemeeter manual. It's just a simple PDF. I have mine up right here. This is the Voicemeeter manual. So what we're gonna need, again, links will be in the description for every bit of information that you need here. So what we're looking for is the timed fade in and out. So if we scroll down to the contents here, this is what we want right here. Special functions to make timed fade in and out. So we'll just go ahead and hop to page 36. So this is page 36. This is what we're looking for right here. It's just literally this little bit of code. Oop, come on now. Copy. Okay, there we go. So copy this. Either of these is fine. It doesn't matter which one you copy, but just copy one of them. And then we can get out of that. So you can title this whatever you want. So we'll call this fade out. And then configuration to set on key press. That's where you're going to want to paste the code. And make sure you include the semicolon here, because if you want to in the future, you can actually make this have multiple functions, which I'll explain a little bit later. So what we have here is there's three values that you got to worry about. The first is your strip. So in Voicemeeter, each of these is a strip. You have 5 available, but the numbering is not 1 through 5. It's actually 0 through 4. So do keep that in mind as you're adjusting your values. So what we want here is our cable output. And because, like I said, it's 0 through 4, so this is going to be strip number 1. So we're going to go back into our button. So what you want is to change this. So right now it's set at strip 0, which is actually my microphone. So we need to change that to 1. The other values are these two numbers here. This is the audio level that you want to change to. So this is set at -20, which if we were to push the button right now, you can see Voicemeeter brought the level up to -20. So what we're wanting to do though is we want to fade it out. So we're going to actually change it to 60. 60 is the lowest setting that you can have for a strip. It goes from -60, which is down here, and then it goes all the way up to +12. 0 is nominal. That's where I have my mic set, is at 0. This is just if you want a little bit more. This is obviously if you want a little bit less. So for the fade out purpose, we want it to be -60. Over here is the value in milliseconds. So this is the amount of time that the fade will take place. So right now it's set at 2000, which is 2 seconds. But let's make it a little bit longer. Let's make it 3.5 seconds. So we will change that to 3,500. And so now if we push the button, well, nothing happens. The reason is that because the strip is already at that level. So what we want to do is let's have it fade in. So we can just right click here, copy, and we'll just paste the button. So now we have an exact copy, and all we're going to do is just change some of the values here. So let's change this to, we'll just change it to 0, which will bring us right here. And then we'll change this to, let's see, let's make it 6 seconds. So there, 6 seconds, increasing to 0. So let's try that out. Push the button, it's taking 6 seconds. And it reaches 0. Now, if we do the fade out, it should bring it to -60 and do it much faster. In about 3.5 seconds. But I don't have the game playing, so we're not seeing any audio. So now, with the game running, if we do our fade in, Now you can hear the game audio fading in. And then we push it again and it faded out. So the beauty of this is that you can apply many different functions to this. So we'll also demonstrate this using the music that I had playing earlier. This is the music that we're playing. So the music is still playing in our default desktop audio. So now if we fade in our game, we can hear the game and the music at the same time, but they are in separate channels. And then of course we can fade the game back out. Now, just for the hell of it, let's put two functions in the same button. So we have strip number 2 here, and it's maxed out. So let's make it so that when this fades in, this will fade out. Okay, so we're gonna stay here, and we're just going to paste code. So now we literally have the same type of code next to one another, and they're separated by the semicolon. That's why the semicolon is important. So now we're just going to change this to strip 2, and we want it to fade out. So we're going to change that to -60, and let's have that be 10 seconds. So now it's 10,000. So -60, 10,000. Okay. Then for here, we're going to have this while the game is fading out, we'll have this, change this to 2. Then we'll change this to well, actually, let's just leave it there. We'll just leave it at -22,000. Okay, so now again we have got our game running. So now when we push the button, it's actually going to adjust both strip 1 and strip 2. So here's the fade in for the game. And you can see both are moving at the same time with one press of a button. And then if we want to fade the game music out, it fades the other strip in. So the possibilities for the use of this are quite vast. It's pretty wonderful. There's other combinations you can use to adjust volumes or even mute strips. Take a look at the manual for more coding options. If there are requests to see certain functions be made, I'll make the appropriate videos if needed. So now we'll need to go into OBS, which I've got running here. So obviously you can see my microphone. I have everything labeled, so when you add your audio sources, they're not going to show up like this. They're going to show up as their defaults. But you can always just click on the cog, or right click on the cog and then rename, and then you can name it whatever you want. But first what you'll need to do is you'll need to go into your settings and then go into audio. And then all you need to do is make sure Voicemeeter input is under your desktop audio, so that that OBS is hearing everything that's coming through Voicemeeter. And then under your appropriate outputs for your mic and your auxiliary. So my microphone is my first mic auxiliary, so I have that set to the VAIO3 output. And then for the mic auxiliary 2 is my auxiliary output. So that's what I have labeled here as PC game. So when I do the same thing for bringing in the game audio, so we have the game kind of playing over here, but then when I fade it in, you'll see PC game rise in levels. So that means that now we have the game outputting to OBS while we're streaming, recording, whatever. And then the same thing can happen while we fade out. Now, as an additional example, we'll again play the music. So now the music is playing through my desktop audio. So if I want to keep playing music or other forms of audio but isolate the game, we can have separate channels for that. So I hope that makes sense. So anyway, we'll pause that, minimize that. So we have our audio isolated and fading in and out, but how do we implement it into our scenes in OBS? That's where multifunctions come in handy. I'm going to show you some of the multi-actions that I've made for my own personal stream. The beauty is that you can copy the button that you've made. So we can just take this button, copy it, and we can add it to a multi-action here. So if we create a multi-action, then go inside, we can just paste our button. And then that function for that button is here. But we can still click on the button and adjust it however we want. So that's the beauty of when you switch your screens or your scenes in OBS, you can still have very specific functionality for each of the buttons that you create. So for example, if we open this up, this is my opening. This is how I start my stream from 0 to live. Is I have the first button is for me to fade out my game audio to 60, basically where it is now, but I have it set to 1 second because I want that to happen immediately. Then we move on to having OBS switch over to my opening scene. And then we have OBS mute my mic so that I don't accidentally, make noise or what have you while the intro is playing. And then I do have the desktop audio enabled so that if my viewers want to play sound effects or anything, when they are entering chat and so forth, they can still be heard through the stream. Then we have a minor delay of just 1 second before the Stream Deck tells OBS to actually go live and start the stream. Then I have another delay of about 6 seconds before it plays the music, which is actually the same music that you were hearing earlier. This is the intro music I use for my stream. And that's it. That's my opening. But then when I'm done with my opening, I have the button duplicated. This one just doesn't have the go live function. So if I'm doing testing or whatever, then I can use this button to kind of swap back between scenes. So if I'm done with my opening, I'm ready to go into chat to talk to everyone, say hello, things like that. That's what this button is for, which then I will have this fade the game music back in because I'll have that playing in the background while I'm talking. And then this it'll stop the music from the intro. And then it makes sure that it switches over to my chat scene. Make sure that if I didn't already unmute my mic, that my mic is now unmuted so that my audience can hear me. And then this is separate for my Elgato if I'm streaming, say, like a console game. So there's that functionality. And then we have like our main window, and the main window does the same thing. The thing is that you want to make sure that you have a fade in for each of the scenes where your game is going to be or where you want your game to be heard. So make sure to throw that in there. And then for other scenes like opening, starting up your stream or taking a break, then you want to make sure to fade your audio out. This is the whole point of why I'm making this video, is because I looked for the longest time trying to find something to allow me to fade my game audio out while I faded my music in, just for opening scenes, ending scenes, break scenes, all of that. And I just couldn't find anything for the longest time. Now I'm able to share this information with you, and hopefully you can have nice, smooth transitions going forward. The possibilities for audio functionality using these tools is quite vast. Hopefully this video gave you all the information you need to create those smooth transitions you've been looking for. If you found this video useful, please consider giving it a like. I plan to make more videos like this in the future, so be sure to subscribe if you want to see more. If you have any questions, comments, or requests for future videos, feel free to use the comments below to make your voice heard. I will try to respond as soon as I'm able to. Finally, spread the word about this and other videos on my channel if you know someone who would benefit from this. Of course, if you want to see these functions in action, you can always stop by my Twitch channel, which will be linked in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.